And I think what's happening to some extent is there are millions and millions of Americans who believe that this is the way the story happened. And what they found is Gibson, a global celebrity, an Oscar winner, a representative of a mainstream culture, that entertainment culture, that they think is essentially hostile to Christianity. How often do we talk about violence in other movies, would be their response to a lot of this. They find in Gibson a kind of validation and promulgation of their faith.
What do you make, John, about this father, his father, and Christopher touched on that, and his father and the Holocaust, and his father and Vatican II, and which absolved the Jews of any...
Well, it's deeply troubling. Gibson has not addressed in any forum that I've seen this very closely. My sense is that Vatican II continued an important tradition of trying to get away from this. The Council of Trent took this up 400 years ago and tried to help a little bit. So I think that this is, it's just such explosive territory to wander into.
I think all this is, what's just been said is fascinating. What's most important is what's on the screen. Crucifixion was a political weapon used by the Romans. It was a way of slowly torturing someone to death. It was intended to deter and by slowly destroying the body. Now, what Gibson has done is, in effect, given the Romans their triumph by returning the spectacle totally to the destruction of a body and leaving the spiritual meaning out. There are brief flashbacks to the Sermon on the Mount and to the Last Supper. They have no resonance whatsoever. I don't agree that Jim Caviezel works well in those scenes. It's in
Is he actor playing Christ?
Yes, I don't think he has any power. It's distance. Jesus' words are distanced from us by having to read them in subtitles, so that Mel Gibson, the visual artist, becomes the hero of the occasion, not Jesus, the teacher and sage. In other words, you see what I'm saying? He's given the Romans their triumph by turning it back into a spectacle of degradation and torture.
John.
What I just want to say, what I was saying is that Gibson has not run through every tenet of his faith, which Vatican II Council, which provision he rejects and which he accepts. And I think it's very interesting that the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops has issued pastoral guidelines about how believers should dramatize the Passion. Don't put Jewish high priests in black. Don't portray them as a chanting mob. Don't portray Pilate as a passive, sensitive, not particularly strong ruler. Almost every one of which Gibson violates, and that's church instruction.
Is the cardinal sin of this film anti-Semitism, or B, its emphasis on violence does not capture the essence of Christianity and the message of Christ?
There's no need to rank these failings. I think that these are both the great failings of the film, and they're both probably ultimately fatal to the film. But I think also the movie is interesting, as I said before, as a kind of a reminder of a very important strain of Christian history that, who knows, may be coming back. I also think that Gibson has done something kind of interesting here. He's made an art film. He's made a movie that really is not going to have much of an audience. It's going to have a lot of people going this week and probably next week. But after that, I think it's going to end up on the video store shelves. And I think it's going to have two kinds of, so to speak, cult audiences over the years. It's going to have a certain kind of religious believer that's going to want to watch this stuff and maybe watch it over and over. And it's going to have the kind of kids and eccentrics who collect and savor the faces of death and Mondo movie, horror flick kind of imagery, because it really does have that kind of ugliness to it. But I think that Gibson has, in that sense, put himself on the line. He spent a lot of money on a movie that I think over the years is really going to have a very limited following.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you, David. Christopher, thank you. It's good to have you here. Well, there.
Thanks.
Jon Meacham, you have to go catch a plane. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Charlie.